Hello and welcome to another edition of the Low Code Cafe. This is episode number 131 for March 15, 2023. Today we're going to be talking about the Plantinap Knowledge Base, a new feature we're just releasing. And so we're announcing it, and then we're going to dig into the details of how the product was delivered, and that's going to be done in the capable hands of Jim Everett. So we'll be digging into knowledge base. I'm also going to be talking some about from the trenches. So let's get into it. I am Dale Warner, head of support for Plantinap. I'm joined today. We've got Jim Everett. And Jim, what's your title?
Head of Education and Training.
Excellent. Head of Education.
Or Training and Education. I can't remember which way around it goes.
Well, we'll sort that out for next time. And then Patrick is joining us as well. He's technical success manager. All right. This is an event we do every Wednesday. It's a weekly webinar to talk about low code and for us to demonstrate and provide hands-on techniques for how to use low code in general, Plantinap in specific. And we invite you to be our guest speaker. If you have a Plantinap implementation that you'd like to show off, we'd love to host you. All of our past episodes are out on YouTube at youtube.com/Plantinap, and we invite you to subscribe and to set the alarm bell so that you'll know when we post new content. As I mentioned, today we're going to be talking a little bit about from the trenches of support, some things that we think you might not have seen before and need to know about. And then we'll dig in and do the low code development segment. The biggest part of this will be dedicated to knowledge base and the ways that it got put together. We invite you to engage with us. We have a chat window. You can post a question in the Q&A. You can raise your hand, but there will be an opportunity to give us feedback, a feedback form that we'll send to you. Excuse me, the link was on the emails we sent to you, and I also will put them on the chat here in a minute as well. So do engage with us. And so first, let's dig in from the trenches of support. We are currently on release 1.24. It's kind of towards the tail end of this release. We're getting ready to release 1.25. It's a work in progress, and I would expect you'll hear more within the next week about that release process. But we've previously released 18 hotfixes, and now we have no new ones for today. So we're kind of quite stable on that. I picked out a couple of topics that I think would be of interest and of value to you for maybe you haven't used features before. And so the first one is about group validation. And this is a feature that I had, dimly aware of that's available on our product, but hadn't used before. And so I'll just point out how this can be used, and in the right circumstances, it can save you some good time. So group validation will let you put many fields on the form and let you validate that at least one of those fields is filled in. There's also an option to fill all. So it's if any are filled, all must be filled. It's a little bit different from the required because they're not required. But if you start filling in that section, then they all have to be filled in. And then there's another validator for at least one strictly positive integer. So let's see where this comes into our product. I have an empty page here, and I'm going to start from scratch and put an action form onto the page. We'll drop it on and begin to manage it. So let's say in our form, we want to ask first name, last name, and phone. So we'll do that. We'll say we've got some predefined fields we can take advantage of. So we'll do first name and last name and predefined field. There's one for phone as well. And then we're going to just add a button that is going to be, I'm just going to call it the view data button. You can do anything you need to with this button, but we're just going to use it to trigger validation. And so I'm going to display an error message that just has all of the fields. I'm going to use the append all fields button. So it gets all of our fields from the form and displays it. So just a very simple functionality to collect information and display it. And so let's see what that looks like. And I am going to open up this in a new tab in management mode so we can interact with that very quickly back and forth. So here's what we get. We can click the button and we see we have some required things that came in by default. So, but we get our basic functionality where the error message displays the values from the field. So now let's play with this group validation a little bit. What we're going to do is we'll scroll down to the validation section, and I'm going to turn off that first name is required, and instead we'll say, we'll define a group one on the form. You can have many different groups. And so we're going to say that with group one, at least one is filled. And we'll do this for the other ones as well. So it's not required, but we're going to say that at least one of these will be filled. And I'll just point out, if you turn on group validation and you don't turn on a validator, you'll get an unexpected behavior. So pick a group validation and then pick all of them, and that group should be defined the same. So now when we refresh the form and we click the view data button, we get an error message that says at least one of these are required: first name, last name, phone. Notice it picked up the field names based on your labels. And so if we put in Dale here, we get past our validation. If we put in Warner here, we get past our validation. Filling in any one of these, or all, you could fill in all of them, gets past the validation. So that group validation, that's that first one that we said is kind of an or. One or the other of these all need to be done. In order to pass. So that's the at least one is filled. Then there's the fill all. And so we can change this over real quickly to we'll change them all to fill all just to see how that behaves. So now when we refresh our form, we can hit view data and it passes validation. If that section is empty, it's fine. But if with the fill all in effect, it says all fields in this group are required. And so now it's either none, it's all or none, and in order to get past validation. So that's kind of a neat one. If they're all filled, it gets passed. If they're not all filled, it's an error. So that's a neat one. And then the last one is at least one strictly positive integer. I'm not going to go through that one, but you can imagine it says that you've got to have at least one of those fields filled, and it has to have an integer in it. This is this whole functionality, these three validators that we've provided, is much like other areas of our product and extension point. So if you're good with code, you can look in this area of the product under the root of your file system, desktop modules, in Sharp Action Form config. There's a folder, group validators, and the group validators, I happen to have it up here, group validators are defined as config files. And so you can dig in here and figure this out. We're not going to take the time to create a new one today, but just pointing out that this is is an extension point, and you could create your own group validators. The at least one is filled. If I edit this, you can see it's got a structure we've seen before. If you followed along, it has a public title that a name, how it activates, and in this case, it's a JavaScript, and so you can follow the JavaScript is also on the file system, and that's the thing that does all the logic to figure out that all are at least one is filled. So that's at least the wiring, if not the details. So that is group validation. Handy one if you happen to need the cases that we've provided for you. The second one I wanted to talk about, and this is a topic that came up in the low-code campfire. I actually brought it up in the low-code campfire and got a great answer, and so now I'm going to having implemented the answer, I'm going to show it off. This is a case where you might have a case where you have a form that opens to a page, and I'm going to open this in a new window. This is a very long grid, and I want to go, I want to preposition using an anchor tag. This is standard HTML functionality. There's anchor tags embedded within all this, and I wanted to go to anchor tag number 29, and yet it didn't go there. If I do it interactively here on the screen, it may go there. Let's see. Yeah, so like I pick out number 7 and it goes there. But the problem is that when you come to this page from another page, the logic of the browser trying to get you to the anchor tag tries to function, but it doesn't find it on the page because the grid is still loading. And so because the grid is still loading, the anchor tag isn't there yet, it fails and it just stays at the top of the page. The nice thing is there's a little bit of JavaScript, and I'll show it here. I've got it on a form on this page, and so it's just turned off. I'm going to turn it on, and with this bit of JavaScript on the page, we get a completely different behavior. If I use this same link and open it in a new window, it jumps to number 29. So the short version of this then is there's a little bit of JavaScript, and we're going to put it in the chat window here in just a second, and it will be on our YouTube video as well, that enables getting you there. The JavaScript, and again, this is credit to the low-code campfire group. The JavaScript is that there is an event called DNNSF events on grid loaded. And so when the grid is loaded, you can call a function. I've defined a function here that very simply looks and sees if there's a hash, and then if there is a hash, an anchor tag as part of the window location, that it repositions away and back to the hash when this function runs. So this little bit of JavaScript would can appear here in like a static text. Again, I'm just going to drop it on the chat in case anyone needs to use it. It took me a minute to, since I'm not a JavaScript native, I had to work a little bit to figure out exactly the syntax. So thought I might save you that couple of minutes if you need to use it. But it can appear here, or alternately, you can, without the script tags, you can put it in the initialization script of a form. But that will, if you happen to have that problem trying to jump to the bottom of a grid or middle of a grid using an anchor tag, it'll wait for the grid to get loaded before trying to jump. Okay, so that's a couple of tips that we can do today from the trenches. I mentioned that I got that partial solution and that I worked forward in Campfire. Low-code Campfire is a event we do on Fridays during the same hour, and it's an interactive format. You'll get a chance to talk to other low coders and help solve their problems, and they'll help solve your issues in low code. So we encourage you to join us for that one. I believe Patrick has already, or may yet, put the links for this episode on the chat. But this gives you an opportunity to sign up for Low-Code Campfire, to see where our videos are on YouTube, use our community portal to get questions answered by us, the Plantin App support team and the community. So lots and lots of good stuff here. And then at the last one, there's a link to our new knowledge base. This is the place where Jim is going to be showing off today, showing off our new work and discussing the knowledge base. Jim, can I turn it over to you?
Yep, I will. I'll take over now if that's okay.
All right.
Yes, as Dale says, this is something that we've been working on for a little while now. And the vision was to provide, as we say, a comprehensive entry point to bring together all the different resources that we have on Plantin App, and to bring together different types of content. You know, we've got documentation, we've got text, we've got videos, we've got things scattered all over the place, well, as in several places, and it was to provide a single focal point as a jumping off point to access all of these. And also we were wanting to provide a common set of categories, a common set of descriptions, so that you could easily find the sort of thing that you're interested in through the topics, but also the right sort of level of content. So we have this concept of audiences with from no code through to low code and then pro code. The no code being using the product as a series of wizards and forms where you're selecting options and typing in text. The low code takes it to a little bit more complicated, rather as Dale just demonstrated, with the tweaking things with a little bit of JavaScript here, some SQL queries there. So a little bit more understanding of code, but not something that you would require a full developer for. And then we have the third audience, which is the pro code, which is, as Dale described just then, where you're building from an extension point, but not so much in JavaScript, but in one of the base level coding languages like C# or Python or something like that. So you have this concept of audiences and the concept of topics. We've also categorized things by the source and the type of content. So we're talking today about the V1 implementation, our first release of this. It's going to be a living product and a growing product, but this is the first version. So this is built on a feature within the Plantin App platform, which is why we're wanting to share a bit about how we've built it, as it's something that as a Plantin App customer you have accessible to you, and you can build on the techniques we're describing here and build your own solution. So it's built on the search feature, which is also known as Search Boost from its earlier incarnation, which is a text indexing and search technology. It also has the ability to deal with hierarchical categories. As I say, we've got this concept of audiences, and within audiences, we've got the four general no code, low code, pro code, and under the heading of topics, we've got a number of different categories. So it can deal with hierarchical categorization, and it also can bring together multiple data sources. In the first version we're releasing today, we're using two data sources. Our documentation management system, which drives the documentation site, and also the descriptions which are provided to the YouTube videos and linking out to the YouTube videos. We've discussed these in a couple of previous low-code cafes, and the links are there. So the first one is talking about how building these database queries to drive the search, and the second one is talking about how we use one of the YouTube APIs to bring out the descriptions and bring them into the system. So what I'd like to cover today is the initial release. Provide a quick demo for those of you who haven't seen it. The system has been in preview for a little while, but a quick demo, and then talk about some of the lessons we've learned in implementing the system, how we've taken account of feedback so far, some of the challenges we're facing, and what our vision is as we go forward. So what I'm going to do is swap over to the share to demonstrate the website. So if you go to knowledge base at plantandapp.com, you'll land on this site. We're going to be working to put links to this knowledge base at various points within the Plant and App estate, so on the home page, in documentation and other places, and they will all bring you here. And as you see here, we've got it filtered by the different categories. So if I was particularly interested in ProCode topics, I can click that and it will filter. I haven't put in any search, but it's brought out the topics that have been tagged as for ProCode. In this view here, we did the card-based view. We can scroll down, and any of these that we're interested in, we can link straight out to the video. In this case, the video, or we can link out to the. Oops, that's probably not the best one to pick. Yes. Out to the documentation, and we could also drill down further. So, drill. In this case, we're drilling out sideways. So we're on ProCode. So we're interested in this is a topic. So tokens. We want to find out about tokens. We can click through, and each of these cards has these extension points or these filtering points to take me through. At any point, you can clear the filters and come back. In addition to drilling down by just by the filtering, we can put in a search term. So let's try PDF, and it will immediately, as we type, search down. So I'm looking. We've got PDF here, and maybe we're only interested in things that are to do with low code. We could combine the category and the search, and we can move out again. And so we've got we can filter, we can provide the search terms, and we've also got this option to change the view. So if I don't want to look at it in a card view, I can switch to a tabular view and see the same information laid out in a slightly different way. On this one, I can jump to the video from the link or the thumbnail, but the other one, the other features or the other categories and topics are not live links. So we'd encourage you to go in and search on the topics that you're interested in, and hopefully you'll find that interesting. Once you're finished, you can reset your search and go back to the beginning. So that's the product as it exists at the moment. We'll be adding more and more content into it as we continue to catalog and categorize the content that we have available. So it is something that will be growing. and we do encourage you to share your feedback if you're using the system and have any suggestions or hit any problems. So there's the that's what we currently have. Switch back to the presentation. So how did we put this together? What are some of the things that some of the ways that we've used the Search Boost platform in order to build this environment? Well, one of the first things that we've done is taken advantage of the concept of search behaviors. And if you go into the wrong one. If you go into the configuration and scroll down to search, you'll see the dashboard here. And in our implementation here, what we've done is build out several different search behaviors, which allow us to customize the configuration and the experience of search. So each of the search behaviors shares a common selection of content sources, and content sources were something we covered when we were in the video on using the database queries. So the different content sources can pick from the existing database index rules and other sources that you've got. So the search behavior can include or exclude those. So we have a different search behavior here, which is used for debugging, and that only includes the one source. But what we've done is primarily use the features on the settings side. So on the slide, it says the search behavior is a set of configurations around search, and it's really this is the feature that we've chosen to use most. The configuration allows us to choose a search input template, and we'll talk more about templates shortly, and it turns a output template, and also the bind to a particular page or particular module on a page, which will have the results that will expose the search experience to the users. So if we go back to the landing the dashboard here, we'll see that we've got two different search behaviors. One is search 2, which is the default one, and we also have the tabular behavior, which is what gives us the grid view as opposed to the card view. So let's see how this is put together. So rather than use the main one, I'll use the debug version. So this behavior is attached to one of my test pages. So if we go to that test page, put it into edit mode, we'll see that we have the module, the Search Boost results module placed on the page. But there's nothing showing. So one of the gotchas that comes out with using the search behaviors is that if you bind it to a module on a page, you don't automatically get any output until you provide either a query string or in the URL which search behavior you're using. So in this case, the debug version is search behavior 4, It's got an index of 4. So we have to say we want to use search behavior 4 in order to get anything to load. What we've done on the main page here is there's a go on. There is a form, an action form on the page, which identifies whether or not the search behavior field has been, or the search behavior parameter has been added to the page. And if it doesn't have that parameter, it will redirect to redirect back to the same page, but inserting the search behavior parameter into the page, which is how we can be sure that when we go from when we go to the root of the page, we will end up with a live search. But we've been able to exploit this a little bit further, and I'll come out of the edit mode. And in order to get the table view, what we're doing here is we have a button which takes the existing search and the existing filters and rewrites the URL. So instead of search behavior 4, we have search behavior 5, and search behavior 5 is attached to this template, which lays out the content as a grid. So again, if we try our PDF filter, and we've got those there, and if we click back, we still have the PDF. We still have the PDF search term. So that's something we've added, and I'll demonstrate that briefly how we did that. The other thing that we noticed was that when you set this up initially, yes, it searches. So I've got some things with PDF here. So I want to just go back now, and I just want to search on everything in the general category. But you'll notice that the search term has returned, even though I've cleared it out. So another thing we've done in the input template is to provide this reset, which clears out your filters and your tokens, and I'll briefly demonstrate that. So that's, as I say, that's one way that you can take advantage of the different settings, the different search behaviors, to provide a different experience. Oops. So now what we're going to do is have a look a little bit at the experience of updating and working with templates. Templates are stored in the desktop modules DNN-sharp search boost templates folder, and there are two types of template: the input and the output. The input is essentially the piece that shows you the very top of the screen, the search box and the clear button that I mentioned. Output really does the rest of the work. Sorry. Let's go to share the main. Pick the wrong one, sorry.
While Jim is looking for the right screen to show, I'll mention that I've put out on the chat, we have done at least 2 different low-code cafes that deal with this topic. One, an integrate anything, being able to get the YouTube video API, where we're retrieving descriptions of these videos directly from YouTube, and so that is one of them that Jim posted previously. And then we did another episode, a multi-source search using PlantinApp search and database queries, and so both of those are kind of lead up to how we got here, and available to you to look at as well.
So is that sharing now?
We are seeing Search Boost templates.
Oh, great. Okay, great. So this is the structure, and we've got the different input templates here. The process for creating a new template, either input or come on, let's go. Is a case of making a copy of the folder, bringing in the files, and then updating the template JSON config file with and you need to change the ID and the friendly name in order to make that available for selection within the environment. Now, I have noticed that you do need to restart the application for this to be recognized. So it's something that you might want to choose the time carefully for making the restart. But otherwise, it's a simple process for creating a new template. The template has, all of the templates have a similar layout. You've got your Razor file, your CS/HTML file, and you can also reference styles and JavaScripts again through your definitions in your config file, and we've made use of that. So let's have a quick look at what we've done to add the button into the input template. So here's the input template Razor file, and here's the button added at the end. So picking up the styling, applying the classes that we need from our site, and in this case, it's calling a function, the SB reset function, which is defined in the JavaScript file. And here what we're doing is using the DNNSF functionality to get the URL, stripping out just the path and redirecting back to the path. Now, this technique does presuppose that we're formatting the URL with the search behavior actually encoded into the URL rather than a query string. But that's the technique. So with that, we're able to get the button that will switch us backwards and forwards. Oh, this way I clear the version.
Yeah. So backing up, we note as we're putting this together, we noticed the behavior you were talking about. The way that we put it together, that the query string was being built with filtering that we needed to have the ability to just clear out, start over. So you change the search input template to add a button, and the button calls a little bit of JavaScript to make that happen. That's correct.
Yes. Yeah. So it's quite possible that you wouldn't need that functionality. It's just in this particular implementation, we wanted to have that ability to start over. So that's a simple, brief introduction to the formatting. The other thing that we wanted to work with was the categorization. Oh, rats! Keep picking the wrong. Picking the wrong screen. Go. The other thing we wanted to do was work with the with categorization. Now that the top part here is the this section here is your input template, and it has there's more that you can do with the input template, but this is the functionality we've exposed, the type ahead, or the input box with the type ahead search and also clearing. But we wanted to work with the hierarchical categorization that we'd applied at the categories of audience, topics, etc. At the top here, this section, the default rendering, is what you get out of the box, which, as you see, we've got audience exposed here and topic, which is not particularly helpful. We've got them all mixed up. What we wanted to do is have a structure here which laid out the different categories, but also kept this indication of the number of hits within the result set. So there's the full collection at the moment, and you can see that having the numbers there is a good indication of what's available. So how did we go about that? So to screen 2. So one of the things that you're able to do within your CS HTML file is to interact with the results before you get to the rendering. So the default rendering.
And this is the output template you're looking at.
Yeah, this is an output template. So the one we're looking at the moment, the one we just looked at, which had the list of all of the categories with the numbers, is expressed here. So it iterates through the result set, each facet in the result set, and makes a button out of it, putting in the title and a badge with the number. But we wanted to break them up and pre-process them. So what we've done in the structure is, before we start rendering out the code, is we iterate again through each of the facets, but we're looking for those facets which have the upper level category or the top level category tag in them. So all of the ones in audience are expressed as audience / and then general, low code, no code. All of the topics are prefixed by topic / So we're able to work through the list of facets that are in there and add them to these different arrays. Now, there are obviously several ways of doing that. So each top level category has its own list, and we're then able to structure the section here. So we've got the audience list, and we're able to generate each of the facets that are in the audience in a separate section with the number available.
So obviously, more of a pro code topic to be able to develop that kind of a template. But the idea again is you start from an existing output template that has content that reveals the things that are available, and so you make a copy of it. It's very safe to work with and play with because it's not impacting your original, and you develop in this case being able to split out audiences and topics and sources and content from just by working through the content that was there, but just presenting it in a different way.
That's right. Yeah, I think that I know a number of programmers who would say it's not pro code, but yes, it's something that it's dealing with code concepts to do that, but the technique is a general one that you can apply to extend the product within, as you say, this sort of safe environment, and to customize the layout to work with the result set that's there. And
Jim, would you say that if somebody is comfortable, say, writing a somewhat complex Razor script token, that it's not a far stretch for them to move into doing this customized template? Does that seem like a fair statement?
Oh yes, yeah. It's all the same technology. It's all the same techniques. It's all C# under the hood, and that gives you the ability to do various things that you might be able to achieve with JavaScript. But the advantage here is that all of this is being executed on the server before it's rendered.
Right.
So that's the idea. So the other thing that I was going to mention, as we've talked about Razor script tokens, is actually including tokens in the template and the way it's rendered. So let's go to see if we've got any examples. So I wanted to do that just so I could make sure that we've got one view marked here. Views in the environment here are just a record of the number of times someone has clicked through from either of the views of the knowledge base through to the resource, and it gives you a live count of that. And this uses some of the approaches that we're quite familiar with in the low code space. So we have a token, which is the get view counter token, which is a SQL token, which takes a parameter and then just does a select to get the number out of the entity, out of the table. So we've got that, and the way that that's used within the template, to change to different one. So this piece of code here. So we're now in the for each block in the results. So for each of the results.
Yeah, we're still seeing tokens. Is that the one that you're trying to show? On Teams, you don't have to. You just click it and it goes. And in Zoom, you have to remember to click share. Have I clicked share now on my?
Are we there?
Right.
Yeah, we're there. Yes. So we're in the for each. So for each result in the results. So this piece is executed for every record, every result. So it happens every time. So what we're doing here, even before we render the card or render the row, is we define some variables so it gets the URL of the result. And here we build the token. So we had the get article view counter title equals token. So we're building that as a string. And here it's where it's executed. So the token utility is tokenized, and it executes that SQL query and brings back the number. And we are then able to inject that into the rendering. So topics. I should have picked the row one. That would have been a lot easier. So here we go. We're injecting it. We're injecting here as the views number variable, and if there's only one, we change the text to view, and if there's more than one, it will remain as views. So there's an example of how you could use tokens within the template.
I'm curious, Jim, and I imagine that others might have the same question, so I'm just going to put it out there. Where you called the token, can you scroll back to that? Yeah. So so you established a variable that has basically the text of what the token should be, and then you're calling this deedin_sharp.comment.token_util.tokenize. Does that accomplish the same thing? Because I know that like when you're writing a Razor script token, you would refer the token as kbtokens.get article view counter, and it's a different syntax that you usually use. Is this accomplishing the same thing, or is this the way it is?
Yeah, it's doing the same thing. It's because I'm not sure of the details, but my guess is because this Razor script isn't being executed within the context of the tokens environment.
Oh, okay. Yes, I see.
See, we're a Razor script token when it is within that token context, so it can know about other tokens, whereas this is something. And I would guess if you also wrote Razor scripts and just added, and you used the Razor script, the Razor script host module on a page, you can do the same thing to get the value of a token.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, and along the same lines, let me just click to the one that's the. Oh, is this the right one? Code switch to output. Table. Yeah, I was just thinking that table might be a bit easier to read. So here we go. So it uses very much the same. So on this on the links, what we've got is a piece of JavaScript that will increment the counter. So it's a view. It says view count and passes the URL that we're going to into that, and that's held in the scripts file, and it does an AJAX post to an API that's set up to do the incrementing.
So they click on the button. Excuse me. They click on the button, and it's behind the scenes running this API that bumps the view count.
That's right. So we've got the template which renders out and structures the content, and we can do it in different ways in different templates, and then we can make it more dynamic and add additional functionality by using tokens, by using scripts, and extending it out that way. So these are some of the things that some of the techniques that we've applied in the development. And
so Jim, I see we have about 4 minutes left, and I think you wanted to talk about some future plans.
That's right. I'll work my way back. So just briefly, the content, we had a short feedback or a short preview period and invited people to give some ideas, and we've been able to implement some of those. Adding the source and type was in there. Having this more compact, this tabular layout is something that we were able to achieve. We did look at trying to use a listing module in order to achieve the same thing. The problem is not being able to have the categories and the counts, the facet listing that we were looking at there. You can't really do that if you're calling the API and getting the results back to show in a listing table. Sorting was another request that we've had, and we're still working on getting the sorting right. And we've also had a request for that when you execute a search and find the resources, that you'd be able to see the full text within the knowledge base, rather than having to go off to look at the results in the documentation or in the video. And that brings us on to some of the challenges that our decision to use the database sources. While it was very powerful to bring in there and combine the different data sources, it has led to some challenges, particularly in rendering the content and doing that sort of full search. So our documentation management system uses a Markdown syntax for structuring the pages, which is ultimately turned into HTML for the documentation site. The problem is that because we're using the Markdown as the source, if we were wanting to show results in context, we would have to find a way of converting the Markdown. Similarly, the contents list that comes out of the YouTube API is not easy to render. And the other thing that we've come up against, and you may have guessed that by the number of results that we're showing, is we've discovered, as any librarian will tell you, that manual categorization is a deceptively difficult task and a long task. So we've been working through the manual categorization, but it is one of the challenges that we're facing. So what we're looking forward to the future is to pick up on the technology du jour of artificial intelligence, and using that to turbocharge what we're doing, not to replace what we're doing, but to enhance it. So looking at AI as a way of automating the categorization process to give Dale, Patrick, and I a bit of a helping hand in categorizing the content, for creating summaries. So because some of the content is quite long, and we can more easily present the relevant content for a hit as a summary than perhaps the the whole content, and also it gives us the opportunity to pull in data from the HTML output of the documentation site rather than using the database. We're looking to extend the range. We're still looking to extend the range of sources that we're bringing in. So bringing in the community forum, insights from there, and also from the help desk, obviously with any sensitive information removed. And this again, this is an area that we're hoping that AI might be able to help us summarize things. So that's something to look forward to with the with version 2. And we will be looking at how people use the resource, whether people use it and how people use it. I've mentioned there's a feedback form on the page, and we'll be looking at proactive feedback. But also the Search Boost reporting does give us a good indication of how people are using the site, how they're interacting with it, whether they're using the categories, whether they're using the search, or how are they combining the two, and that will inform the evolution of the interface, but it would also help us identify what questions aren't currently well answered and help us generate more content. I'd also hopefully identify some areas that are popular so we can build more content and do more sessions on those sorts of areas that are attracting interest. So that's the vision going forward.
Okay, and with that, I will. I just want to thank you, Jim, for putting that together. Good presentation and areas of Search Boost that we haven't dealt with in the past. Thanks for joining us for this episode of Low Code Cafe today. And we will see you again next week with a new topic. See you then.